What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Ole Miss Rebels and their 2023 college football season. It was an incredible season, especially for Ole Miss's standards. And what Lane Kiffin doing at Ole Miss is pretty incredible. Well, Lane Kiffin is one hell of a coach. I think a lot of people would say that. He was at Alabama, was the offensive coordinator there. Won a lot there, obviously, like any coach does under Nick Saban. But I really loved his offense. And then he went over to FAU, which is Florida Atlantic University, and went there. And he had some success. I think they went 8-5 one year, like pretty good years for Florida Atlantic terms. And then he went on to Ole Miss. And honestly, been kind of surprising how good and how he has turned that program around. One of the top transfer portal destinations in the country because of that. Lane Kiffin is a young head coach that really buys into these young players. He kind of gets them. He gets the college football world. He's a really good follow on Twitter. Good traits come with Lane Kiffin, especially the current day of, college football. Because a lot of people, they may not relate as well to college football players as Lane Kiffin does. I miss Flowers because I think he's done a tremendous job in the SEC with Ole Miss, which is not a powerhouse program by any means. And Lane Kiffin has had numerous opportunities. I guarantee it. I don't know if it's been reported or not, but I guarantee you he's had numerous opportunities to take other jobs around the country. Maybe it was the Texas A&M job this year, if it was the LSU job last year, USC. I guarantee you someone reached out, was trying to get him to one of those jobs, and he stayed at Ole Miss. I just don't think, these universities are not calling Lane Kiffin when a big-time job opens up. But enough of Lane Kiffin talk. Let's talk a little bit about his football team this year. Ole Miss was 10-2 this year, and SEC conference that people think were the best. Now, I think they were, that conference as a whole, a little bit of a letdown this year. Jackson Dart threw for 20 touchdowns and 5 picks. He had a really productive year, especially after last year where I thought he was solid, showed some flashes, but I think he had a lot of room to improve, and he did that this year. 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions is a pretty good ratio, and I think he can get even better. That's the scary part. And Sean Junkins, 15 touchdowns, over 1,000 yards rushing. Really impressive year for Junkins. Was maybe one of the best running backs in the country, one of the top running backs in the SEC. He did a tremendous job and was really a bell cow for that team for them this year. And then wide receiver Trey Harris, who was a transfer last year, which I believe everything happens. There's so much movement in college football, but I think he came from Louisiana Tech, if I'm not mistaken. But he had, 8 touchdowns, 851 yards. He had a lot of catches. He was their main target. It was obvious this year. Really productive transfer get. But some of the teams on their schedule, they played at Alabama, Georgia, LSU. They had some tough teams, but they did get favored a little bit in their schedule. They played, the Vanderbilts of the SEC. And I thought they did a good job handling all those teams pretty well. They had Georgia, but they were blown out by them. I think it was like 52-17 or 24. Huge blowout game. I remember watching that game and turning it off pretty quick because Georgia was just handling them. And then, they beat LSU, which was a good win, high-scoring win, one of the best games of this year. The offense was humming against LSU. Now, the LSU defense not very good, but that was a really good win for Ole Miss. And they lost to Bama to, 24-10. They were in the game some, and, Bama does Bama things. Nick Saban does what he does, and he pulled away late. 2 losses are to Bama and Georgia. Now, I'm not saying you want to lose those 2 games, but there's 2 SEC games you lose. You probably lose those ones. I know you probably want to, make the Georgia game a little bit more competitive. But, Georgia is Georgia. 2-time back-to-back national championship winners. Not much you could do in that situation. And then, after finishing 10-2, second in the SEC West, which is an incredible accomplishment. by Ole Miss. I would have to look back, but this may be one of the highest they've finished in a very long time. I don't remember them finishing second in forever. I was really impressed by this team. They play Penn State in the bowl game, which I think is a really interesting matchup. And I think depending on, I would have to look at both rosters, see who's the opt-out, who's opting in. You can beat Penn State, but that'll be a fun game in the Peach Bowl. The main reason I want to talk about this Ole Miss program because I think they did have a good season and some great accomplishments. But I want to talk about the transfer portal for them. So some transfer portal guys I want to talk about, I'm going to just highlight a few. Key Lawrence from OU, safety, really good pickup. I think he's a solid guy. I don't know if he'll start, but really good depth piece for them. They also have Tyler Barron, the edge from Tennessee, one of the top edge players. Was really good for Tennessee. He's going to Ole Miss. They got him in the transfer portal, and that was an incredible pickup as well. Princely, and I struggle with his last name. I struggled with it all last year. I need to get it down, but the Princely guy from Florida, the edge player, one of the top sack guys in the SEC, really productive. Really like what they got from him. And with Barron and Princely, that's an incredible edge duo off the edge, and that's going to be fun to see. So those two guys are like the top two edge dudes in the portal, and they got both of them, or at least the top three at least. Antoine Wells, South Carolina receiver, transfers in. One of the best transfer portal wide receivers, and he goes to Ole Miss. That's a hell of a get by Lane Kiffin, and that offense, I think he's going to be really productive for them. That's going to be one of their best transfers right there. And they have linebacker Chris Paul Jr., which he's from Arkansas, by the way, but I think he's one of the best pickups that I've seen in the portal. I think he's one of the best players. That dude, he is one of the best linebackers in the country. He entered in the portal. He's gonna light things up at Ole Miss. I promise you that. That defense is looking sneaky good right now. Sneaky good. I like where they're at. I'm really impressed with the haul that Ole Miss is getting. It's going to be exciting next year to see what they can do to build off that 10-2 record and get in these portal additions. And, this is just the start. I think Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss are going to get some more guys in there. More guys. I know I've waited all video to talk to this, but Walter Nolan is a huge lean to Ole Miss, and that is the best player in the portal. If he goes to Ole Miss, that is a humongous pickup, man. That dude is, a first-round pick waiting to happen. Texas A&M, they had what happened there, the coaching firing. Walter Nolan is one of the best players in college football going into next year. The fact that he's going to be most likely, he's a heavy lean towards, Ole Miss. That's crazy. Walter Nolan, with the transfers they got in, with the players they got in, that defense for Ole Miss next year, going to be really good. They're going to have high expectations. What a get that would be for Lane Kiffin. So, the number one ranked transfer portal class, 10 commits according to 24/7 Sports. Now, I know 24/7 Sports isn't the best for, ranking talent in the transfer portal. I think their rankings are kind of garbage in my opinion, but, that is impressive that they are the number one class, I guess, and they deserve it because of a lot of these additions. Ole Miss, we're going to have to keep an eye on them. They're going to be a heavy preseason favorite type of team. I'm not saying to win a national championship, but some people are predicting to be pretty good next year, so we'll see what happens. Do it for me. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys next video.